Oh, something happened. There we go. What's up, everybody? Welcome into another episode of Profit Picks. If you are new, we do always start the show by being transparent. Yesterday was a winning day. 4% best bet, only bet on the Minnesota Lynx. Uh, Relatively easy. I mean, they're up by 20 something at one point. Second half, Golden State started playing a little bit better defense. You know, start getting a little bit of home cooking from the refs. And Minnesota looked a little at some point like lackadaisical, like they just already knew they won, but still got the job done by 10 points. So I will take it. Vino, good to be back with you. How's everything for you yesterday? What's going on? How you feeling today?
I feel good today, Skee, but I tell you what, for people on that combo pack, thank God you got the 4% win because I've reduced myself down to 1.5% plays on this WNBA because I haven't had much luck in a rut here. And last night kind of resumed. In the end, I caved and I played um, the Toronto tempo because of the injury situation under 77.5 against Washington. But they had a big second half. They scored 50 second half points or close to it, 49 or 50, and got themselves up and over 33 at halftime. Thought I was in good shape. Um, and then had in the Lynx game, I had the first half Lynx team total over 42.5, 41. A lot of missed
Mm.
shots that you're angry with. But it is what it is. I mean, today, actually have two bigger plays today because I think I see it pretty clear. So we'll see. But as I mentioned, if you're on the combo pack, you still win because Skee's carrying my ass around here right now.
Well, it's some things to like today. Got some questions in the chat. That's the first game we're going to talk about here. Says curious. Joey says curious why Fever is a pick 'em with the Dallas Wings news losing AZ. Let's talk about it. This one opened up. Bad. I just messed that up. Put a timer on here somehow. There we go. My bad. All right, this one opened up minus 2.5. Looks like three. Total open 186 and a half. And it looks like 184 and a half is the consensus. Caitlin Clark, per usual, is probable. Kelsey Mitchell, also probable. For Dallas, they'll be without Isaiah James, Verona, and then we did get the news, like it was mentioned in the chat, that AZ is going to miss the rest of the season. So that's tough news for the Wings. Wings, I believe, what is it, 1-5 without AZ in the lineup. And lately, I mean, it's been a lot of bad basketball for them. One thing I will say is, you do get Jessica Shepard back lately, and they can get off of the road because the road has just been, they've been like pretty pathetic on the road, honestly. I think they've covered three of their last 14, 15 road games, something like that. They just have been bad. Um, so back at home now, the standings, they are getting close. I mean, seeds 8 through 3, I know, are separated by 4 games. So it's a lot of teams in there still fighting. Um, so to the question that was in the chat, why is this a pick 'em? I would say, or not a pick 'em, but small spread. I would say Dallas is back at home, and Dallas needs wins. You're going to get a max effort from them. Dallas also has rest advantage, if I'm not mistaken, coming into this game. I'm just going to double check here. Go to the schedule. So yeah, the Wings had 2 days off. The Fever only had 1 day off. Fever coming from Canada back home as well. That could be something that, not the most advantageous for them. Third straight road game as well for the Fever. I just think that the spot favors the Wings, and motivation wise, I mean, the Fever need wins too. They do. But the Wings are not going to just lay down. So international travel, you kept saying that's probably a reason for the line. I agree. Um, Curious what you're thinking here, Vino, Fever and Wings.
Yeah, I think purely from a fundamental handicapping standpoint here, it's a severe contrast. And we just saw this game last week, but we saw it without Jessica Shepard. But if you take the first half and the second half of those two games, you thought you were watching different games. Dallas wants to be methodical nowadays. They don't want tempo. They don't want pace, even though they started the season as that type of team. I think they currently sit 13th in pace over the course of their last like 10 or 20 games. That halftime score at Indiana last week, or whenever that game was played 8 days ago, it's within a week. But that halftime score was 37-35 Dallas. Very low scoring. Halftime interviews you saw, I think it was Caitlin Clark on the sideline said, we got to push pace because we don't play this way. And you know what happened in the second half? They scored 63 points against Dallas. So you got to make the decision here, Dallas at home. For 4 quarters, can they keep Indiana from revving up the pace and keep it the way they like it? Or at some point, like it did last game, is it going to get out of hand and Dallas can't keep up? Now, half the reason they couldn't, or I won't say half because that's a little strong, but a lot of the reason why Dallas couldn't keep up is because they didn't have Jessica Shepard. You add her back in here, you add the home floor in here, and then you say to yourself, well, that game was only a 98-87. Dallas still got to 87. It was relatively close. But I don't know. I don't want to step in front of the Indiana freight train right now. To me, they're just going too good, playing too good offensively. But I can understand where the question comes from here. And I can understand why the line is where it is. I actually think, Skee, to tell you the truth, because Dallas, let's forget about the AZ Fudd injury for a minute because she hasn't played in 6 games now. It's not like Dallas is just going to have to get accustomed to playing without her. They've been without her. As you mentioned, they're 1-5 without her. But I think that's all in the point spread as is now. This point spread might be a little bit Indiana top heavy at now -3, some places 3.5. For me, the total is very hard to gauge because I don't, if we could see a game that separates into 2 different halves like we did the first time and that game or last time, and that game hit 185, which is right where the number is tonight. So not a lot to work with here on this one, Skee. If I were forced to play, I'd be playing Indiana -2.5. I know Dallas needs wins, but the way they're playing right now is just too good. It's somewhat reminiscent of the streak that Las Vegas went on last year. I know Las Vegas's was 19 wins in a row. Indiana's is only 5 in a row, but they're playing that well at this point in time.
Man, the more I think about this game, I think that Dallas, I do think Dallas can score, but this total is high. The total has been so high for these Dallas and Fever games, really. But like you said, the Wings have been playing without AZ for a little bit now. They're coming off a game playing the best defense in the league, held to 70 points. Now they're facing the Fever, and they're at home. They're facing the Fever in a spot. Fever already defense that's not really good. They just had an overtime game the other day. Had to travel to Canada. Now going from Canada back to the States. The defense is going to be good tonight. 91.5 is just so high for a team total. I do think the Wings can score. Something else for the Wings lately. You mentioned they've been. I said that they're 1-5. I think it was, or it's 1-5 or 1-6 without AZ. I forget which one it is. But talking about all these games lately have been without her. They're 0-5 ATS their last 5 games. They're 3-2 ATS in the first half. They've been able to hang for 20 minutes. I have to think you at the very least get a really good effort from the Wings here, for 20 minutes. And I have to think that the focus level is higher for them than it could be for the Fever. But when I say that, I have to mention that it's an important game for the Fever too. I mean, I'm just gonna pull it up to double check here, but I'm pretty certain they're half game ahead of the Aces. As far as sitting in the third seed, just gonna double check here. Standings. Yes, they are half game ahead of the Aces. 1.5 games behind the Valkyries. 1.5 games ahead of the Dream. So all these games matter. Indiana is the better team. I think if I'm going to get involved with Dallas, it's just for 20 minutes. Any last thoughts, Fino?
Yeah, I think that's a really good way to look at it. Like I say, when they played in Indiana a week ago or whatever it was, they won the first half on the road. And here you get Jessica Shepard back, you get home floor, you get a team traveling back from Canada to Texas. So all those things early could be helpful to Dallas. The thing is, they couldn't, like I said earlier, they couldn't extend that for 40 minutes against Indiana. Indiana pushed pace second half and just went crazy. So, yeah, if you were going to shorten it up, Dallas would look like a really good play here. And for Dallas, just as we look here, Skee, two things really quick. Indiana, like you say, half a game ahead of Las Vegas to stay out of that four slot. I think you said it yesterday. Nobody wants to be in that Lynx bracket. If you're number four, you're in that Lynx bracket. So you want to avoid that at all costs. So huge for Indiana. And where Dallas is concerned, game and a half behind New York, but they're not going to fall out of the playoffs. They could almost lose out and not fall out of the playoffs. Nobody's going to catch them. They're so far ahead. The ninth place team isn't going to catch them. So everything is important. I get it. Page had that, little bit to say about their um, defense and physicality after the last Indiana game. We'll see if that changes here. There's motivation on the Dallas side for sure. And I think the way you cut it up there and said first half probably is a good way to go.
All right, good stuff on that game. We'll keep it moving down the list. We have a couple more to talk about here. The next one is Atlanta Dream, LA Sparks, opened up -7.5. Looks like 8.5 or 9, depending where you shop. We'll call it consensus 8.5. Total came down a little bit from 182.5, seeing it as low as 180 out there. Bree Jones out for the Dream. Looks like we have a few game time decisions. Makani is probable. Cam Brink is probable. Erica Wheeler probable. So Sparks looking to be a little healthier for this contest here. Um, we did already mention the standings for the Dream. They're right in the thick of things. So we know, it's an important game for them. They still have to win this game by 8.5, by double digits, pretty much. Um, they also, let me just double check here. Right, they played that overtime game versus Indiana, and then were they on the road last game? Yeah, they were on the road versus the Aces. Now on the road again versus Sparks. Not very far travel, but that overtime game could start to catch up wear and tear on a dream team who doesn't play a lot of their bench, rely heavily on the starters. The Sparks, I have to look at them. Um, they don't have anything really to play for, honestly. And I don't love that they're returning home from a road trip. Only 3 games, but returning home from an East Coast road trip. Don't love that for the Sparks. But the fact remains, the Dream just haven't been good as sizable favorites. Um, favorites of 10 plus, they're 2-6. I know they're not quite double digits yet. Favorites of 7-10, I have them as 50-50. Sparks as underdogs of 7 plus, 6-2 ATS. This has been their role. It's looking a little bit closer than that. Can I get the Sparks? Well, I don't know. It's hard for me to lay with Atlanta here. I do think it can be an over game because we know the way the Sparks want to play up tempo. They don't play the best defense. And I think the Dream like to play fast too. So either over or Sparks. That's what I'm thinking here, Vino. Dropping dimes looks like he disagrees with both of those calls. He likes the Sparks team total under. How do you see it, Vino?
Yeah, I was surprised the total came down, Ski. And again, we've seen these totals come down on a daily basis now, right? They're really high nowadays. And I think it's just mechanical for the early money to come in and say, you know what, odds makers have overreacted, going to play under. We talked about how many unders have come through in the past. But when I look at this matchup, I just can't help but think that the money's moving the wrong way where the total is concerned. First of all, I've said it 5, 10, 20 times this year. The Dream are a team, when they get a bad defense, they play with that bully mentality. They just score and score and score against bad defenses. They've had that tendency all season long, and here they get one of the worst. In fact, LA has taken over now the worst field goal percentage defense in the league. They're like 200ths or tenths worse than Atlanta. So it's the two worst field goal percentage defenses in the league playing each other tonight. Um, and you add to that, LA for the season, third fastest pace. And you could counter that by saying, well, you know what? A lot of that pace was with Kelsey Plum. But since Kelsey Plum's been gone, they're still the sixth fastest paced team in the league. So, it slowed down a little, but not a lot. They're still upper tier as far as wanting to go. You mentioned that Atlanta likes to go. Sparks ball handling, been miserable. 13th in the league in turnover percentage last 10 games, or excuse me, since the break. And they allow the highest amount of fast break points in the league since the break. Atlanta's number one in fast break points, and they're number two in points off turnover. So you couldn't have a better matchup for the Dream to go. And with the Sparks also running, it just makes for a lot of opportunity here to score in this game. Atlanta had 15 steals against Las Vegas the other night. So here, I think for LA, I kind of, I like to use comp games sometimes, Ski, and in a way, I comp this LA return home to the Chicago return home the other night. They look lousy on the road offensively. We spoke about it. And then they come home and score 93 on their home floor against New York. LA look lousy on the road offensively. Now they come home fully healthy. In fact, I'll say this, the lineup that's going to play here, that's going to start for the Sparks tonight, is the same exact lineup that started in the only game they played this year against one another. It was back in the middle of July. Kelsey Plum wasn't in the lineup. It's the same exact five starters who will be out there for the Sparks tonight. And that game went 101 to 94, 195 points. Here you're asked to get to 180. I just think that it's probably been bit down too low. I don't know. Atlanta's intensity was so high for the Las Vegas game for multiple reasons the other night that, to me, they can only come down a little bit as far as defensive intensity is concerned. So to me, I do like over. I think it probably finds its way over 180. Atlanta's shown tendency to score really high against this type of defense, and LA at home, faster pace, everybody back. Makes a little bit of sense to me. So I like over.
All right. Good stuff there. Yeah, this chat, man. Some cutting up in that chat right now. I'll tell you that. But yeah, RC, shout out to NECA. She did announce she's gonna retire at the end of the season. He says, what a career. Absolutely. I believe she's the leading scorer for the Sparks as a franchise. She was an MVP there. She won a championship there. Great career. And she's done well. She the things she does for the league too. I think she does good things there. So I agree. Mark says, why announce retirement with 9 games to go? Okay, let's think about it. Let's think about a player, maybe Kevin Durant or any kind of good player in the NBA. You think they wouldn't announce they're gonna retire? I mean, we see people announce their retirement all the time. Maybe she just decided that I don't want to do this anymore. Maybe she just decided it's time to go. You just heard LeBron talk about he was undecided even up until the last second. You know, at some point, maybe just people are done. She's been doing this so long. That's why you announce it. What do you want her to just wait till the end of the season and just leave? It's okay for her to announce it and get some love as she goes out the league. Any thoughts from you, Vino?
Well, I think a couple of things. With 9 games left, at least she gets somewhat of a little, at least home farewell tour, so to speak. It probably get
Exactly.
larger crowds for her now, and maybe a little more energy in the building for LA. And when she goes on the road, I'm sure they'll tribute her on the road to whatever's left on that schedule. So you do get that. But I don't think it's that calculated by her to say, well, I want some adoration the last 9 games, so I'm going to announce my retirement. Um, I think back to the beginning of the year, Ski, really quick, when she had that quote
for
and said,
defense.
"This is not the way we used to do things
Yes,
around
yes.
here
She's
in
like, what the
LA."
hell is this?
And by now, she's probably like, "You know what? I'm going to check out of this mess because I
Exactly,
don't see it getting
exactly.
any better." You know what I mean? So, I could see it from that perspective too. But she's the head of the players' union, so they're gonna have to find a replacement there. She's done a lot of good things, and like I said, I've only been handicapping this for 5 years. So the 5 years that I've seen, a lot of good things. It's as good a time as any. Let's put it that way. I don't think there's anything calculated behind doing it with 9 games left.
It makes me think of that Magic Johnson. I don't know if you call it a gif or a meme or whatever. Where he's like, "I'm not gonna be here." He was leaving the Lakers. That's what it makes me think about. All right, I'm gonna leave it to my guy RC in the chat. Next game up, we got Connecticut and Las Vegas. Opened up minus 13 and a half. It went up a little bit, but looks like it's coming back down. I see 13 and a half. I see 14s. Total came down from 169 and a half to 167 and a half. As far as an injury report, let me actually just refresh one time here just to make sure. So Griner and Aaliyah Edwards are both game time decision tonight. For the Aces, they will be without Dana Evans. Um, so Aces last game. I mean, we all saw they came out without the best energy. First of all, and then, they tried to turn it on a little bit. They ended the first quarter kind of well. And in that second quarter, Becky didn't like what she was seeing. I thought she was right. The referees, I don't know. I agree with what Becky did, but Becky got tossed in that last game. Aces went on to lose. Um, Now Aces at home again. Um, Becky will be back. Aces now have game behind the fever. I know, the point spread is 13 and a half, but after they lose a game at home that they were expected to win, with Becky getting thrown out, I know you're going to get max effort from this Aces team. I think they'll shoot the ball better. The problem here is if I have to pick one thing, I think it's the minus 13 and a half because I've seen sometimes where the Aces, they'll lose a game. It might linger into the beginning of the next game, like the first quarter, and then the next 3 quarters, they're just whooping ass. So that makes me hesitate on the first half. And then you have the thought of, if they're winning by so much in the fourth quarter, the starters are going to sit. You want to include that. So that's what I'm hesitating as far as picking what to bet, specifically in this Aces game. I've also thought if you're a person who has first half team totals available, I know they're not everywhere, but the Aces in this kind of situation routinely get to 50. And I can absolutely see that versus Suns defense. Their first half team total at the shops I see is 47 and a half. I just know it's not widely available. So I think the Aces name their number, at least for 20 minutes. I think that for 30 minutes, they name their number and then they kind of take their foot off the gas. Any thoughts from you here, Vino?
Yeah, my thought is if I'm Becky Hammond and I'm winning by a bunch and I turn around and I look at that bench, I don't want to put any of them in. Just stay out on the floor because I'm not. It's like looking down to your bullpen when you have guys that, might as well just leave my starter in because I'm not getting any help here. I'll go to quote time here, but a couple of things here, Skee. Generally, when I see a game like this where I can make it's not often, but I think I have a case for play on and a case for fade. And play on Las Vegas here, fade Connecticut here. You mentioned all the key points, right? Last game was a disaster. And Asia Wilson had a lot to say about it. So I'm just going to read her quote. She said, "Our effort wasn't there today. That's upsetting because that's the one thing you don't really teach. You don't really scout. You don't really learn it. You just have to want it. That team was coming off a crushing loss and they just wanted it more. Same for us. And we just didn't have it. We didn't want it. So I think that's something that we've got to dial into in our locker room. And I'll obviously take full responsibility for that because I can't have my team come out and not show effort and the want to factor that is needed, especially during this time of season. It's a locker room full of vets. as the starting unit is concerned, right? And I think that resonates with all of those guys, all those players. Um, I think they'll be ready from the outset here. I would expect a high level of intensity from the get go. Connecticut, they won that last home game. Two of the three games that they covered, their last three were against injury plagued teams. And you play LA without the three players we just mentioned that are back tonight in the previous analysis. And you play New York, who we've talked about. The injuries have just hurt them extensively. So two covers against those two don't really thrill me that much. But now you go all the way cross country, only 1 day of rest. Maybe Griner plays, maybe she doesn't. But you know what? Griner played in that one game where they lost 104-69 to the Dream about 10 days ago. So I don't know how much difference she's going to make. She's probably not playing at 100%. Connecticut turns it over a lot. They've actually picked up their pace a little bit. When I looked at pace numbers, Connecticut's going a little faster since the break. But then the point that sealed it for me, Skee, was that Las Vegas scored 98 and 101 against Connecticut in their two meetings. They're way, way back in the early season. But when you look at who played, it's basically the same players. So to me, you get basically the same result here in Las Vegas tonight. That team total was 91. I think they'll exceed 91. Las Vegas has shown the ability to get there when they really want to, pretty easily. So for me, it was Las Vegas team total. If there is let up at the end, I don't want to be laying 13 and a half, but I do think they could win this thing by 20 plus. But I like the team total, especially. I'm just going to bank on this offense, like you said, to shoot better. They only shot 39% from the field the other night. And the next best thing to having Becky speak is having Asia speak. And I feel like they'll come out ready for this one.
I want to be involved in this game some way. The only hesitation I have with that too is the Aces could come out and want to play defense after losing two games. Sometimes they do it. And this is a Sun team that's really struggled to score. Yes, they won the last game versus Sparks and scored 85. But prior to that, 75, 69, 75, 63. It doesn't take much to go out there and beat that Suns team, that Suns offense. I don't know. Dropping dimes agrees with you. Play the full game team total. UCapper says a couple things I saw. Sun has double-digit dogs off a win. They lost by 16 and 35. Aces has double-digit favorites off a loss, won by 15 and 26. Good stuff by UCapper there. Yeah, Aces, some way, shape, or form, I would agree. All right. I think we did a pretty good job here, Vino. There was one other thing I wanted to talk about really quick before we end. There was one comment I'm trying to find. Two comments, maybe. Chicago Cheetah says, I don't agree with the defending champs coach. Well, what she did, I think that's what he says. I thought she was wrong. Thought she was out of pocket. I thought the Dream legitimately beat them. I didn't say the Dream, didn't play a good game. The Dream did play a good game. The Dream had more energy from start to finish. They were mad after losing the last game in overtime, and it looked like it. They had more energy. They were ready to play from the start. They beat them in that regard. All I'm saying is, and all Becky is saying is, they got some help. They got some help. Everything Las Vegas did was a foul, and same things happening on the other end. There was no whistle. So I've only seen Becky get thrown out of one game prior to last night. I think she had good reason last night. That's all I'm saying. All right. Or not last night, but last game. All right. Vino, I think we did a pretty good job. We can go ahead and wrap it up. Usual promos we have the 2-for-1, 3-day all access, only $69. Get you every play from both Rob Veno and myself. If you prefer to choose one of us, the same $69 will get you 6 days from the capper of your choice. And outside of that, Vino, I'm just going to pass it to you. Ask you if there's anything else you would like to promote. Feel free. And if you have a best bet for the show, everybody would love to hear it.
Yeah, tonight's Skee, as far as selection packages with Wager Talk are concerned, I just combine 3 plays into one pack tonight, to give everybody three for one price off of what happened last night. It does include one of the CFL games, or the CFL game. It includes two WNBAs. Obviously, we talked about all three here. Since I have multiple, I'll leave you one that's actually in that package. And it's the Atlanta LA Sparks game over the 180. For everything they've shown this season, and we talked about it at length, so I'll be brief here. But everything Atlanta's shown this season is when they get a bad defensive team, they just rack up points. And I don't know how interested they'll be in, locking down Los Angeles here, who has everybody back. I talked about their ability to score and how fast they go, even without Kelsey Plum. So for me, and you could get an energized crowd actually out of LA tonight with NECA's announcement. We talked about that too. So for me, it's best bet for the show: Atlanta Sparks over 180, I think, or 180 and a half, whatever's the more prevalent price right now.
Good stuff from Vino. For myself, I haven't quite pushed the button yet, but I'm still thinking about a couple things. I mean, we talked about some good things here on this show. Just gonna make some decisions before I push the button today. So can't leave a best bet for the show. I will say though, I have already made a play for tomorrow, and it's a 5% best bet. I've won 16 of my last 19 5%. So if you want to get a head start, it's up and available for tomorrow. And a good way to get involved is to get an all access package. That way you get anything that I might release today, as well as that big play for tomorrow. So just wanted to throw that out there. Vino, always great to cap these games with you. Helps my process 1000%. Chat, we appreciate you all as well. Best of luck, everybody, on all your action. We'll be back to end the week tomorrow, and we'll catch you guys then.